Here we are. Merry day after Christmas to everybody. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. John Radigan, Jeff Wilson. Kat is in there. Holly's already in the chat. Thank you, Holly, for that. And hello to all of our chatters, our regular people who hang out with us at 1 o'clock every day. It's a special day and a special week. Jeff, I have done, so we're halfway through the day, essentially. And I have not had to set foot in any place where commerce is conducted. Which I think, not unlike Black Friday, this is a good day to avoid those places. Yeah. Right? Everybody's returning gifts and so forth.
Yeah, I had to take Molly to the grocery store because she's a big scratch-off girl. And so with some of her Christmas money, she wanted to buy scratch-offs. And who am I to stand in the way of her gambling pursuits? So,
after all, she's a preteen, for goodness sake.
That's right. It's trying to teach her young, and so we were very in and out though, very quick.
Very good. Too bad neither of us were in Arkansas to get tickets last night. The Powerball on, or I guess it was on Christmas Eve, $1.8 billion, one ticket. It's going to be it's only going to be an $843 million cash payout. I mean, how are you supposed to get by on 843?
Yeah, I don't know about that. That's a tough one. I hope they're okay. I think person probably became the second richest person in Arkansas after the Waltons. So.
That's probably true. So anyway, we're so glad to have you. We're here to talk baseball. We'll talk about returns and exchanges. And, there are, every time you give a gift, sometimes you do that and you go, oh gosh, I wish I had that to do over again. Right. Well, that happens a lot in life too, like trades and free agent signings. So later in the program, we'll talk about some of those as it pertains to the Rangers. Think of the ones that sort of make you the most crazy. We kind of compiled a list of ones that over the years have either been noteworthy or made us crazy. So we'll get to that a little bit later on. And I thought it's an interesting dynamic what's happening with managers in this day and age, and what is most important, or the most important quality in managers in this day and age. It's pretty interesting and enlightening, and we'll talk about that as well. We got our cleanup segment. It's all coming up. It's a fun day. It's a day to celebrate, and hopefully everybody had as good a Christmas as the three of us did, because Kat's got a 2-year-old. Jeff's got a household full of gamblers. And I've got a almost 1-year-old granddaughter. So great times had by all. Okay, so but let's start, Jeff, with the December that's not quite over yet. The December to remember. I feel like the Rangers were basically they had shot taken their best shots prior to December, and they were just kind of filling in around the margins. Although when it comes to the catcher, that really wasn't necessarily a margin. That was a need. But other than that, it feels like this was kind of the, just filling things out, working the margins.
Yeah. And again, that's where teams operating on a tighter payroll have to have success. And so you look at the Milwaukee Brewers, who hit on the margins more than anybody, great scouting. And so they're able to do that, player development. And that's kind of what the Rangers have, I guess, the owners forced them to do this offseason. So the Simeon Nimmo trade was late November.
Right.
And he was introduced He came to the ballpark there right before the winter meetings, the Friday before the winter meetings. And so that was December. But, everything that happened, let's just put it out this way. The Rangers' biggest move may have already occurred. It may have occurred before Thanksgiving because, the Nimmo trade, that was a big deal. That was national headlines. That was a big one. And in the process, the Rangers got rid of a guy who they felt like was declining offensively. 2 days prior, they got rid of two guys, Adolis Garcia and Jonah Heim, who were declining. And then Nimmo, they feel like, is an everyday player, left-handed hitting outfielder who hits lefties, and a guy who, just seems like the nicest guy on the face of the earth. So they feel like they upgraded in a big way there, both by subtracting some players who weren't performing and by adding a guy who they feel like is going to perform. But then the one move they had to absolutely make this offseason was getting a catcher. And they got one of the best three available.
Right.
Danny Jansen, 2-year deal, almost $15 million. I guess he was the choice over JT Realmuto, who's well out of the Rangers' price range, and Victor Caratini, who has some ties to Alex Cintron, the new assistant hitting coach. But Jansen really is going to upgrade their defense behind the plate. And the guy hit some home runs, too. So they got better at catcher. And then the lineup has gotten better, although they haven't added to it necessarily significantly. But as we've said since the day it happened, addition by subtraction with Garcia and Heim and Semien too.
Yeah, it really is. And it's sad to say, and you hate to see it happen that way, because again, those are all people that we thoroughly enjoyed being around. But it's interesting to me, Jeff, that I see many of the national pundits, and I've seen even some of the local people who are well respected for their coverage and thoughts about the Rangers, who still think there's something big out there for Texas. And it just feels to me like what you've suggested. It feels to me like the biggest things that the Rangers have done have been done. And of course, if you put them in a list, that includes, changing out, firing, not rehiring, not re-signing, whatever, a Hall of Fame manager. That includes, losing a pitching coach who is regarded as one of the best that's ever done that job. And that includes trading or non-tendering 3 World Series heroes. I mean, by anybody's offseason standards, any team, maybe except the Dodgers, that's a pretty active and a pretty dramatic offseason already.
Yeah, the coaches, the managers, they matter. The tone, the style of play, the energy levels, those are legitimate things. And you look at how good the pitching staff was last year with Mike Maddox, the best in team history. The first pitching staff in team history to lead the majors in ERA. They've got some talent there, of course. But, Mike Maddox is really good at convincing guys who have maybe struggled in the past, or young guys who just need an extra bolt of confidence, convincing them that they're the best pitchers on the face of the earth, and that if they throw their pitch, it's going to be great. Conviction, pitching with conviction. That's what he said in 2009 when he came over from the Brewers. Okay. Yeah. It still holds true today. And, now hopefully Jordan Teagues has gleaned a lot from Mike Maddox. He says he has, and we'll find out. But the pitching staff is still starting off in a pretty good place. It's the bullpen that is everybody's concern. And hard to blame you guys for feeling that way with the signing so far of Chris Martin and Alexis Diaz and Tyler Alexander, the TCU kid and the Southlake kid. So, not Edwin Diaz and Pete Fairbanks and Tyler Rogers, right? I mean, we're talking about some guys who, they got a Dollar General basically. If we're being honest, I don't think these guys had a ton of teams knocking on their doors.
No,
a lot of people thought Chris Martin was going to retire, including us, because he told me that he was leading toward retirement. So anyway, so that's the area where the Rangers need to continue to add. Hopefully, it's apparent that they weren't going to be in on any closer, and now that Fairbanks is gone,
clearly not.
There's not one out there unless they trade for one.
Right.
So it's going to be, again, targeted guys who are probably looking to rebound, guys who fit what the Rangers really feel like they need, and then a starting pitcher. And I think that's where the Rangers could make a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
If with a starting pitcher. If they're gonna, if the $10 million they saved on Simeon, with the Mets sending $5 million, and then the difference between his contract and Nimmo's contract, it's like $10.5 million, maybe $11 million. I don't remember. And let's say they use that money already on the catcher and Chris Martin. All right. And then they've spent another, $3 million tops on the other two. Okay. So they technically could have some money to play with here. Okay. And if Chris Young, who talks so much about how important starting pitching is, and that he believes it's the foundation to a winning team, that maybe he's kept what powder they have dry for somebody you've heard of. And somebody who's going to make a difference.
Yeah, and if we know anything about Chris Young, and we do after several years here in the organization, we know that, every single, person, GM and above, who's in charge of acquiring talent, says you can never have enough starting pitching. But Chris Young says it literally every time we see him. It is his mantra. And it has proven true time and time again, even in the last year, when the Rangers had the best group of starters they've ever had, numbers wise, and the best in baseball, not just the American League, but in all of baseball, numbers wise. Even in that year, there were times when we're going, whoa, wow, who's going to start, right? Because you can never have enough starting pitching.
That's the truth. And the Rangers learned that in spring training last year.
That's right.
Cody Bradford and John Gray were injured. Hey, that's what got Patrick Corbin on the team for $1 million. That's what really forced Jack Leiter into the rotation. Now, that one worked out pretty good, and Corbin wasn't half bad, but Kumar Rocker had to be forced into the rotation. That wasn't very good. And then, just a number of other guys who would start. They might have stumbled upon something with Jake Latz, and hopefully they have. He's a candidate to be in the rotation to start the season. But yeah, they need another guy, because even when Cody Bradford comes back in May or June, that's not going to send Jake Latz to the minor leagues. It's going to send him to the bullpen, and so you're still working thin on starters. So you're going to see, and you have seen, guys signed to minor league deals, but the Rangers need a guy. Okay, they absolutely positively need a guy, whether that be Chris Bassett, Zach Gallen, guys who are free agents, and their markets are, it seem to be hot and cold. And then, do they take a flyer on somebody like Frankie Montas, who's coming off of not a very good year, and he's been hurt off and on here lately. Justin Verlander, who's going to turn 43 here pretty soon. Do they want to do that? So there are guys for sure who everybody's heard of who they could sign, but it's if they have the money, and if they are keeping their powder dry, then those names are in play. And if not, then it's rolling the dice on somebody who can have a rebound year, if Patrick Corbin, if he can replicate what he did in the first half, or Tyler Mahle, who's constantly or frequently injured. or like a Tyler Anderson, who's just a veteran guy who's going to go out there and give you innings, but you're going to have to live with some blemishes. So I'm not sure, but it's not a great position to be in. And if I'm being honest, I'm probably thinking it's going to be the latter instead of the former.
Sure. I agree. I think so too. Speaking of Patrick Corbin, doing a deeper dive today into some of the worst trades in Major League history. His name came up. He was apparently in the Max Scherzer trade from the Diamondbacks to the Tigers. And obviously Patrick ultimately landed in Washington, where he had his greatest success. But that maybe it was the Patrick Corbin trade. Maybe the Tigers wanted Corbin and the Diamondbacks just threw in Scherzer for him.
Hey,
I don't know.
You never know.
I don't think they're that bad in player personnel, but anyway, so that's a teaser of what we've got coming. We're gonna take some things back to the store on this. They call it Boxing Day in Canada, I believe, maybe in Great Britain too. Boxing Day. It's the day you box everything up that you got, and you take it back to the store and get something you want. So
the British Commonwealths.
Yes, that's right. That's all the Commonwealths call it Boxing Day. So it's not boxing like fist fighting. It's boxing, and we're gonna put a few free agents and some trades in boxes later and see if we can take those back. But coming up next, let's talk about the manager. The Rangers have a new one. They have one who everybody agrees is great. And does he have the right traits in this day and age to be a successful manager? We'll talk about it next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. Well, it's a normal question at meals around my house now, and it happened on Christmas Day. Anytime my family tastes something that's spectacular, they say, is this from Wild Fork? And almost always I say, yes, it is. It's such a great place, and it's not surprising, and yet to people who aren't familiar yet, it is. Everything, especially their meats, are so fantastic. You need to make sure you avail yourself to everything that's available at Wild Fork Foods, including their 750 different kinds of meat. It's fantastic. It's unbelievable. It's delicious. There are 9 locations throughout the Metroplex, and they will deliver your food to you. It's frozen, I know, but frozen, as they remind us, is fresher than fresh. So go to Wild Fork Foods if you would, and take advantage of all the great deals they have there. Wild Fork Foods is our favorite. So you can't still really buy it for Christmas for yourself or for your loved one, but you can still buy it. That's the Rangers Fantasy Camp. It's coming up soon, though. It's January 7th through the 11th, and it is in Surprise, Arizona. It's an opportunity for you to rub elbows with all of your favorites. Well, maybe not all of them, but a lot of them. 2 Hall of Famers will be there at Fantasy Camp with you. Pudge Rodriguez and Fergie Jenkins will both be there, as will many former Rangers, the guys you knew and loved when they were playing. They'll all be there, so will you. You'll all have your names on your back. You'll all have lockers in the clubhouse. You will all share 2 games per day together. It's a 5-day experience, and it is truly once in a lifetime. So go to rangers.com/fantasy right now and get your opportunity to do this January dream of Rangers Fantasy Camp. Yeah, that's coming up quick. So make sure you, if you have any inkling to do that, man, get on that now. I think you'll have so much fun doing it. The couple of little cleanup things from the last segment. I saw Kurdua go by and say, somewhat telling, isn't it, that Jonah Heim hasn't gotten another job yet, which I fully expect that he will, Jeff, a major league offer, I would think. It is somewhat interesting that the catching market, now the Rangers, did jump on something, but Real Muto hasn't signed yet, unless I missed something, right?
Right.
Caratini hasn't signed yet. It's a very strangely slow market.
Well, there's not a lot out there. So,
right.
but and really you can't really say the market's waiting on Caratini, because he's kind of his own, just like a class above the rest.
You mean Real Muto? Yeah.
Real Muto. Sorry. Yeah. And it just seems like, that's like what the Phillies want to do. They want to re-sign him.
Yeah.
this makes a ton of sense. And then after that, it could move pretty quickly. But if teams are trying to get Jonah in on a minor league contract, he's not going to take one of those unless it's really late.
Last minute.
He'll get a major league deal. It won't pay him nearly what he and his wife probably think he's worth, but it beats digging ditches.
It does, and that's one of those times when you bet on yourself, right? I mean,
yeah,
you
for
go
sure.
in there and say, "I'll show you." This isn't as much as I should be making, and you go in and have a great year. And if everything goes right, you might end up getting in different circumstances, the Rangers might have signed him after 23 to a somewhat long-term deal. I mean, it seemed like, okay, we got a guy, right? It's a hard position to fill. He had a great year. He had a Gold Glove year. He had an All-Star year, All-Star starter. Showed toughness, came back from an injury, played through the World Series, needing surgery. I mean, there were so many things to like about it. So, you go have a year like that with somebody else, and circumstances being different, you might get signed up, and come what may, right? I mean, in this case, it's really strange because Jonah knew each and every year after 23, he really was in a position to need to prove himself. And through no effort or lack of effort of his own. I mean, it's not like he was he was just resting on his laurels. He didn't really have any, at least as it pertains to like long-term security in the game. And it just didn't work. It didn't happen for him. Hard as he tried.
Yeah. And, like we said with Adolis and Jonah, 23 is really the outlier.
Yeah.
If you look at their careers, and I would argue that 25 is kind of an outlier for Adolis on the negative side, but I don't know how much better he is, but Jonah, look at the years preceding 23 and the 2 years after, kind of like, all right. Now, and it's kind of weird because, he had the great 23 and then opening night there in 24.
Yeah.
He's the guy who delivers the walk-off hit to win it after Travis Jankowski tied it improbably with a leadoff homer. So you're thinking, hey, all right, Jonah's off to a good start, and it just didn't happen. And the Rangers were like, oh well, maybe we overworked him because Andrew Kisner was not a very good player in the reserve role, and the offense was bad, and so they're trying to get Jonah in there as much as they could, and they feel like, well, maybe we wore him out. So then, the less is more philosophy of signing Higashioka to catch more, take more games from Heim would, in theory, increase his production. It didn't happen. So, you gotta, the game will humble you. All those things that you always hear, and I think Jonah's been humbled, and I think it's had an effect on his mentality as well.
Yeah, I do too, unfortunately, and hopefully he will rebound, and they'll approach it. He'll approach it like this is a bet on myself. So this manager, trait thing, MLB.com, I guess it was, did a thing about it, and I think they went up to all the managers at the winter meetings, and they just asked them basically a question that basically was what makes for a good managerial candidate in the modern game? And they heard nothing when they asked that question about bullpen management, nothing about lineup construction, nothing about all the decisions that a manager has to make each and every day. In fact, what they heard about was messaging. Will Venable said it perhaps best. He said, it's your messaging to the group and being able to connect with the group. And that has become such an important job. And I say has become, I've always said that the best coaches and managers, Jeff, are part, tactician, part someone who really knows the game, and part psychologist, right? And the ones who the Jimmy Johnsons of the world, the Bill Parcells of the world, I don't think either one of them had like a degree in psychology, but for some people, they are just really good at that aspect of it. And it's become more and more a thing in Major League Baseball. It's like you don't need to worry about communicating with the people in the front office or the owner or your bosses, because that'll take care of itself if you connect with these 26 guys down here.
Yeah, I guess you can go back if you want to, like, I don't know, Connie Mack. I mean, hell,
Sure. Yeah.
But for a very long time in our game, players had no choice of where they got to play. They signed with an organization, and that was it, unless they got traded or released. And what the manager said was the Bible. That was it, hard and fast, and and the game at the time was different. You still, you got more and more power as years went by, but you still had shortstops who batted 226 with two homers.
Yeah.
Their job was to catch the ball and to bunt. The game's just evolved, and as it has, especially with new information and the more money that's being invested into players and their value and things like that, the front office has become more and more engaged. And I think that while messaging is important, you have to have a manager who's willing to work with the front office.
You do.
And can't, be in the dugout or worried about, somebody making a lineup suggestion. I mean, Billy Martin would have shot somebody, and might have. Who knows?
Yeah.
But so I think that's changed. But the messaging part, these guys all tugged on the same rope throughout time, and if they didn't, it was a deal. Reggie Jackson and Billy Martin, that was a big deal, right? And so when players and the managers butted head, there's a famous video of Jim Leland airing out Barry Bonds, the best player on the team and one of the best players in baseball history, and the manager is letting him know who the hell is in charge. And now players still respect the manager, I think, but it takes a certain guy. Why can't Buck Showalter hang at a place for 20 years? Buck Showalter's a great manager.
Yes.
It's because of the act, the micromanaging, and it's just the Jeff Bannister thing that it wore out. He was very firm, and maybe it was because he was such a contrast to Ron Washington, who was like, "You guys take care of yourself." But when Wash had to say something, Wash said something, right? Yeah. Everybody knew that he was the guy, and they respected the heck out of him because of the way he worked and things like that. And Bruce Bochy obviously brought instant credibility to the dugout. No questions asked. He said, he was open to feedback from the front office, and that he was always like, "This is a we, not a me," and things like that. Yet I still think the manager, stuck with his guns on a lot of things that might have not gone away, like maybe a younger manager on another team wouldn't have been able to get away with. Mm-hmm. Well, now I'm not saying that Skip Schumacher is going to get run over by the front office. I think he's going to listen and understand where they're coming from, and even try it. But he's going to be out there. He's younger. He has more energy. He's going to work. I think because he was a player for a veteran old school manager, he's going to kind of understand that he doesn't need to micromanage, that he needs to let these guys do their job, the assistant coaches. But it's just going to be different. And to your point about this story, it's just different across the game. A lot of these guys are now really young managers. Like the Nationals, their top 3 executives are like less than 32 or something. Yeah. I mean, it just feels like that's the way the game's going. But it's still, if you're going to be, I guess Jordan Teagues brought this up, right? That he was younger than Chris Martin last year.
Yeah.
And that was a funny deal to the whole team or whatever. And
the same age as Jacob deGrom, right?
And the same age that was the kicker. Yeah. Same as deGrom.
Yeah.
So it's, the manager and the coaches have to earn the respect of the players. They still have the title, and players still understand they have to listen to their coaches. But, as they get closer in age, and They can't be your players can't be your best friends. I think that's something John Daniels ran into trouble as the GM. He wanted to be friends with these guys because they're all his age.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work. And there has to be a line, but managing them, getting the message across, they have to believe in you so that when you do make an in-game decision, when you do pinch hit Josh Smith against a lefty, even though he's an everyday player, he understands it and doesn't go home and, kick his dog, that he's okay with it and doesn't suddenly turn on the manager.
Yeah. So interesting. Stephen Vogt has an interesting thought on why these young managers are so popular and doing so well. I mean, Stephen Vogt's a young guy himself, and a couple of years really removed from his career, maybe 3 or 4 years, and he has some thoughts on why these guys are having success so quickly. We'll talk about that and then get to our returns next on the DLLS Rangers podcast. First, though, we want you to remember you have an opportunity to join the Supporters Club as we give you stuff in that club that is just so fun and I don't know if valuable is the right word, but it's very enjoyable. It's behind-the-scenes looks at what we do at DLLS on a daily basis as we get ready for all these shows that we do. I'm sure yesterday was quite a fun day around the office because the Cowboys have their, a little personal team, their team watch party while they watch the Cowboys. And it was a good game yesterday for the Cowboys, who still have a chance to be 500 for the season. But anyway, all those kinds of things become available to you. We videotape them and we put them up behind that mini paywall. It's only $15 or $5 to become a member of the Supporters Club, and you get access to the emojis that you see there saw there on the screen as well. So do us that favor, join the Supporters Club and show us your support today.
Yeah, and be sure to get the newsletter that Ollie provides multiple times a week, recapping the day in DFW sports and the stories that we've written and the stories that we're following. The Cowboys played yesterday, won. That was good. The Mavericks played and lost, so maybe that wasn't good. But it's just the perfect way to stay in touch. If you've missed a couple days or you missed the night before, just stay in touch and recap what's going on in DFW sports and with DLS. You do it by going to our homepage, alldls.com, going to the very bottom where you'll find a little deal there at the bottom. You just enter your email address, and voila, you are a recipient of our email. And again, you're a better sports fan for doing it.
You are indeed, and we're talking on the DLLS Rangers podcast today about many things, but one of them is what makes a good manager. And of course, Skip Schumacher is the new young, relatively speaking, new manager of your Texas Rangers. And Stephen Vogt, he's been a manager for 2 years, and he's won Manager of the Year twice. He's got some pretty good thoughts on this. And part of it is he's just an affable, approachable, happy-go-lucky, fun, humble guy. But here's his thought on why guys about his age, about Skip's age, younger men are having such success at the managerial level. Stephen says, I think people right around my age or from that era of a player, we played through a very unique time where we broke into the big leagues and came up through the minor leagues with absolutely zero information, folks. And then he said, during our big league careers, we had every piece of information thrown at us and we were expected to go out and use it on the field. And so I think we were raised in an old school world, but then we played through the transition. Now, that it's not true that they had no information, but relatively speaking, right? And you know what I thought about with regard to that, Jeff? That also kind of mirrors the time that Ron Washington became a manager. And I think that maybe some of his success as a manager was based on a similar thing, right? Like there's a certain amount of information out there and game plans and stuff, but all of a sudden, man, right in that era, all the analytics came flying in.
Yeah, and that's a pretty interesting observation, and not inaccurate. I'm in the minors. You don't get like these great scouting reports, and so I understand that. And as a catcher, I'm sure that the amount of information that Stephen Vogt received early in his career compared to the end was mind-boggling. The difference. So I can get that, and but you do. I think that a guy like Wash and somebody like Bruce Bochy, and I think Skip Schumacher kind of has it too. You got to have a little old school in you. You got to trust your gut sometimes. You can't just look at the book and be like, all right, here we go. Look what that did to the Rays in the 20 World Series, right? Kevin Cash, not that much younger than or older than Stephen Vogt. They probably played against each other. They were like, all right, that's it for Blake Snell. He's dominating out there. Everybody can see it. The Dodgers know it. He just gave up a hit. Time to go get him, and they lost the game. And I just think that an old school manager would be like, I think this guy's all right. Screw the numbers here. We're dominating. Our season's on the line, and this guy is our best guy. So we're sticking with him. So I do think you need the gut. And that was what Wash always said. I got to trust my gut on this one. And the gut was pretty good.
Yeah, it really was. It was. And, who was that catcher we got from Milwaukee? The Rangers got from Milwaukee, and he had the binders. Good catcher, little guy. And he did so much research, and he had all in binders.
Lucroy, Jonathan Lucroy.
Yeah, Jonathan Lucroy. Yeah, were you around yet? Were you here for that?
Yeah.
That was amazing. Again, I think that was before the biggest influx of the.
It was right at the start, because that was 2016 when the Rangers traded for him, and part of the reason why Jeff Bannister was hired is because he was kind of they thought ahead of his time with the analytics, and then here you have Jonathan with binders and
just old school,
keeping his own system,
keeping his own notes. Yeah,
the guy was an all-star a couple of times, so he knew what he was doing, and he had he had a great 16 with the Rangers, and then in 17 he was traded at the deadline as they kind of faded out of contention. But I see your point. That was 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
You don't see that anymore.
No, and he's marking up those binders and filling in new pages. And I mean, basically just doing all of his own research, if you will, as opposed to now it's all right there on a computer or an iPad, and you're not carrying around binder. I mean, these were thick binders, So anyway, let's get to these take-backs that we want to get to. And I don't know if we'll get to them all now, Jeff, because we're getting long-winded here, but we'll talk about a few of them. Some of the worst gifts, for lack of a better word, that the Rangers have received over the years. And these are gifts in the form of either trades or free agent signings. And, when I got here, Jeff, in 1990, they were literally still talking about the horrors of the Ron Darling trade. It was like you said it in hushed tones. Well, it wasn't a great trade, but it wasn't as bad as the Ron Darling trade. The Rangers trade Ron Darling and Walt Terrell for Lee Mazzilli with the Mets in 1982. Man, you talk about getting fleeced, Jeff. You want that one to do over again.
Because all Darling did was go to the Mets and win a World Series.
Right.
And it was interesting. We were talking to Tom the other day, Grieve. We were talking about our trades and the Canseco trade for Bobby Witt and Ruben Series. Well, all those guys were going to be free agents. We weren't going to be able to sign them anyway. And so I think then a lot of trades had that expressly in them. But gosh, for a team that has never pitched to trade, Walt Terrell, who people knew, and then a prospect It's crazy talk.
Yeah, I think Darrell ended up on that 84. I think he was on that 84 Tigers team as a serviceable, like, fourth or fifth starter, and he was pretty good. And of course, Darling, and it's not like he came out of nowhere. He was a first-round pick, like 9th overall in 81, I think, and by 82 they traded him. Oh my goodness gracious! That was a bad one. And speaking of Tom, next on my list is the Sammy Sosa trade, and everybody always talks about it. And if you do the Google into the deep dive into the AI and everything, that's the first one that comes up for the Rangers. But Tom the other day was saying to us, and it's a great thought. He's like, "How am I going to know? How are any of us going to know that?" that Sammy Sosa is going to become what he was. When he left here, he was a, skinny little 165-pound contact guy, and then he became this massive home run hitter. And what Tom didn't say, but we will, who knew that these steroids were going to have that effect on people, and did. And so there you go, right? And Tom was too kind to say that. But his regret on that trade, and it was all for Harold Baines, by the way. His regret, and they had added Scott Fletcher and Fred Manrique, another little infielder, but his biggest regret on that trade was the pitcher included Wilson Alvarez, who threw a no-hitter for the White. No, he threw it for the Cubs, didn't he?
No, it was for the White Sox. It was his second start, against the Orioles. Right. Again, another pitching thing, and you're right. And I thought it was pretty interesting, the evaluation that they had for Sosa. They're like, he was going to be a good player. He was going to hit 280 or 290 and going to hit 20, 25 home runs and had a great arm in right field, but he wasn't going to be what he became after he added 40 pounds.
Right.
So that's pretty funny. But the regret there, again, was another young pitcher that they sent away.
Yeah. Here's another one, the Ryan Dempster trade. We were both around for that.
Oh, yeah.
You were always more in touch with the minor leaguers than I was at that stage, especially. I know we didn't want to see Kyle Hendricks go, but, at that point, Ryan Dempster was an all-star that season with, I think, a sub-3 ERA. And he didn't do terribly for the Rangers. His ERA wasn't great, but he was like 7-3 in 12 starts. But Kyle Hendricks went on to become the cornerstone of those Cubs teams and really was significant in them winning the World Series in 2016. We've all known, we've heard this offseason, he's retiring, and I don't know if they're going to do a statue for him, Jeff, but by God, the Cubs are going to honor him.
Well, the thing about that trade, Christian Villanueva was the other player involved, a third baseman, and that's the player the Rangers were more concerned about.
Wow.
They thought that he was going to be the one that would come back and bite him in the butt. Instead, it ends up being this, 8th round pick from Dartmouth who, can't break a pane of glass with his fastball, but he knows how to change speeds, really good changeup, and just, threw strikes and became a really, really solid pitcher for the Cubs. And that's the thing about that trade, is that the Rangers weren't so worried about Hendricks. It was Villanueva, and then Dempster. I think people remember him as the guy who pitched the tie-breaking game against the A's and couldn't hold on to the lead.
Yeah.
But that season the issue was not his spot in the rotation, but the Rangers never able to overcome the Colby Lewis injury.
Yeah,
because that spot in the rotation didn't win a game the rest of the season.
No, and that all had a lot to do with Josh Hamilton and his travails at the end of the
year. Oh man, and in the summer, the chewing tobacco thing. Good Lord.
Exactly. Yeah. So another one that looks bad in the rearview mirror is the Adrian Gonzalez trade. The Rangers though did get Akinora Otsuka back for Adrian Gonzalez, who went on to become a perennial all-star.
Yeah, and that trade's interesting because Chris Young was part of the package that the Rangers sent to the Padres. And they got back Adam Eaton, who was going to solidify the rotation, but he had like a nerve issue in his hand or something. Aki was a pretty decent closer, honestly, but Adrian Gonzalez becomes a great first baseman, one of the best first basemen in baseball. At the time, he'd been blocked by Teixeira, so what were the Rangers going to really do with him? Were they going to make him a DH? They didn't want to do that. So they trade him away. And one of the things that John Daniels says about that trade is that it was too soon. Yeah. The timing was off on the trade. The Rangers, they thought the Rangers were ready to take a dive and they go for it. And they wanted to be aggressive, and it just didn't work. So that's John Daniels' regret on that one. I mean, obviously, Adrian Gonzalez is a pretty big regret, but it was just the time wasn't right for that trade.
Yeah. Couple of free agent signings, and we've mentioned both of these recently.
Well, championship games brings up a good one. The A-Rod trade for Soriano and Joaquin Arias.
Yeah.
And he hints instead of some other guy. The other guy was supposed to be Robinson Cano. The Rangers had a choice between Arias or Cano. They went with Arias.
Yeah.
And it was before Arias really hurt his shoulder. But I can't imagine that a healthy Joaquin Arias would have been better than Robinson Cano.
No, at any point. No chance. Right. No chance. That's some of the trades we remember. We had that. The Juan Gonzalez trade was shocking when it happened. There were a few others. But as far as the free agents go, I guess when you aren't a team that throws around free agent money, there aren't just a ton of these out there. But the Chan-Ho Park one we mentioned the other day was huge. 6 for $65 made him 5 for $65 actually, and it made him one of the highest paid players, not just pitchers, in the game. And that was in the era when Tom Hicks was trying to do quick fixes to get this thing going right away. Right? Yeah. And then of course, we've said it, the Jock Peterson one, which is still redeemable with a great year this year, Jeff.
He has to have a great year, and the Rangers have to go to the playoffs. That's the only thing that saves it. If he has a great year and they're lousy, it's a bad deal.
Yeah.
And so we'll see how that one goes, but he's going to be better. I just don't know how much better.
Right. Yeah. Well, fingers crossed on that one. Maybe it won't be a part of this list of things we'd like to put in a box on Boxing Day in the future. So anyway, thanks for participating in that. We appreciate your thoughts as always. Our cleanup segment is coming your way next.
Hey, look, if you didn't become a diehard during our sale, Black Friday and all that stuff, if somebody didn't get it for you this last Christmas, yesterday you woke up and you didn't have your diehard membership and you were pretty dang ticked off, well, guess what? Now's the time to redeem yourself. You probably got some money for Christmas, and I bet you it's more than the $80 that it costs to be a DLS diehard. That's it. $79.99 a year. You get a free t-shirt, 20% off of our events, 20% off of our merch. And what you get is access to everything we write that is behind the paywall. And most of our stuff's behind the paywall. I don't know if you were paying attention to the chat earlier at the start of the show, but Greg McWaters boasted that he became a diehard.
Nice. Greg.
So follow his example, become a diehard, go to our homepage, alldls.com. There's tons of links, and you are not going to regret giving yourself a little gift on the day after Christmas.
I was at a Christmas party the beginning of last week. The weeks are all running together, aren't they? I mean, the days, because it feels like it's Monday, but it's Friday. And anyway, I was at a party, and I had one of my DLLS shirts on, the red one, because it's red, festive for the holiday. And somebody came up to me and said, DLLS, is that anything like DNVR? And I said, yeah, it's exactly like it. It's our version of it. I just moved here from Denver. I loved DNVR. And I go, well, now check out DLLS. So we have a new person there, and it was kind of fun to see him make that connection. Yeah, we are in 5 markets right now, and we sell merchandise in all of them. We, of course, push the DLLS merchandise, but there is stuff for DNVR and CHG.
I'm wearing one.
Oh, you are. Look at
Yeah,
you. Yeah.
yeah. I
Is that a
got this
Broncos
yesterday. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, you did get that
I
yesterday.
did get it yesterday. Yeah,
That's
it's
a good looking
Nick
shirt.
Bonito,
Is
and
that
in
orange?
Colorado, there's a restaurant called it's orange called
Yeah.
Casa Bonita, which the South Park creators purchased, but it was just this place where kids went and terrible food and yeah. Anyway, it's a ridiculous place, but it's a perfect shirt for a guy named Benito.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I love that
Yeah.
very much. So anyway, Chicago has it, Philly has it, Phoenix has it, we have it. Get yours from any of those places now, or get it from, of course, DLLS at store.allcitynetwork.com. Great merchandise available for you. Okay, so a couple of things to clean up from the weekend. It's amazing and we know this, we've said this, a lot of these deals happen on Christmas or at Christmas, if not on Christmas. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Jeff, and we've mentioned it once, the Pete Fairbanks thing, I think, happened or broke on Christmas Eve.
I believe that's correct. I got some angry messages from Rarities about that one. Rarities, who is watching today from Louisville, Kentucky, and I availed myself yesterday to a lot of spirits from Louisville.
Louisville, yeah.
Yeah, or Kentucky, either one. Yeah, but yeah, he got 1 in 13.
Yeah,
which he did a little bit better than he would have done in
2 million
arbitration.
Yeah. 2 million
had the Rays not gassed him, so good for him. But he's probably the last one, right? He's got to be the last closer.
He is. But
yeah.
So if that was a really good Christmas gift, and you think, man, not many people are going to get a better Christmas gift than $13 million. However, the very next day, Jeff, on Christmas Day, Tyler Soderstrom did. He signs the biggest guaranteed contract in the history of the athletics organization, which goes all the way back to Philadelphia, although I don't guess in those days they were tossing around millions. But that said, he signs for 7 years, $86 million. Jeff, and there's an option year that could take it to 8 and 131. They are serious, I think, finally, about maybe keeping, for years they've created all these great players and then they just had to let them go.
Right.
I think they're going to try to keep this band together and take it to Las Vegas with them.
Well, they have a chance to do it because these guys are young and they're willing to take a club-friendly deal and get the money now and still be free agents at a young age.
Yeah.
And get a second go-around at free agency. And, I think we saw him sign up, reach extension with Rooker. I think they've done it with a couple others. So they're going to try to have their core together for the move to Las Vegas. The hard ones are going to be Kurtz and
right.
Langoliers, because Langolier's already into arbitration, so it's going to be hard to extend him right now. Kurtz, boy, you really, I'm trying. If I'm those A's, I'm trying my tail off to get that one as friendly as possible. But again, these guys are going to hit the A's. They were pretty good offensively in 25. They're going to be good in 26 and 27 and 28. It's if they can pitch, and that's still the thing holding them back. And if some people think that the A's are going to be a second or third place team in the West, even a first place team, take a look at that pitching staff again. All right,
nothing there.
It's just not there.
No, there's nothing there. Framber Valdez could certainly enhance that, but the A's aren't talking to him. But the Orioles and perhaps most notably the Mets, I guess the Giants are too. Orioles, Giants, and Mets seem to be in, but there's no team, Jeff, that needs something like Framber Valdez as much as the Mets need it after what they've done to decimate the team there. And also, it feels like, from what we know about Framber, from watching him very closely here and talking to our colleagues in Houston about him, like if there's ever been anybody who could care less about environment, circumstances, teammates, friends, but who only, it's only a money deal. It seems like that would be Framber.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't paint a very rosy picture of the guy, but
Of the human being, no, yeah,
and but it's what we hear. It's what people see. What he did to the catcher, last year, that was so obvious, and then pissed people off, his teammates off, and he denied it and all this stuff. BS. He knew exactly what he was doing.
Yeah.
So, to whoever gets him, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
It's hard to change the man. So, good luck to whoever pulls that one off.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see. But I think the Mets are in desperate need for headlines, basically, that aren't negative, because I haven't checked the back page headline of the Post in a couple of days, but boy, they've just been having a field day. They've been having a field day with the Mets and their headlines. So anyway, we'll keep an eye on that one for you. Let's also take a look at what a couple of our favorite Rangers were doing yesterday. Foremost among them, both of them actually new dads and parents for the first time. And foremost among them, the shortstop, Jeff, Corey Seager. Here's a look at the Seager family Christmas photo. Is that fantastic? I think I've got those jammies, Jeff, with the Christmas trees on them. Aren't those nice?
Yeah, it seems like Mrs. Seager is big on the matching PJs for Christmas. Interestingly, so is Mrs. Wilson, though. She didn't give me a pair this year. Maybe she
did
finally
not
got
get
the
you
message.
one.
No, the kids got
Yeah,
it, though.
okay.
Good looking dogs. Corey loves the dogs. And they very carefully have Camden's head turned the other way to protect his privacy, I guess. But he's not a very old kid. That's for sure.
Yeah, born in October, I think. And good. That's cool and cute. And I think it was in the chat, but maybe it was just when we were talking in the office one day last week. Somebody asked, "Hey, does Corey ever smile?" There you go. That's a beautiful smile from Corey Seager. So that's really good. And then Kat's also saying that at her house they had matching PJs as well.
Oh, and, there you go.
We had sort of kind of quasi matching PJs at our place. So, but it was so warm. Everybody's got the flannel, like you're like, hey, let's have them for a night. And it was 80. So anyway, the Smiths also shared their holiday photo. And this is one thing that's awesome about the social media of this day and age. I mean, these are not as people who have been around the team and been around a lot and years and decades. Like, you generally don't ask for that picture. In our day, Jeff, it's like, you have a good Christmas? Yeah, we had a great Christmas. It's not like you're saying, got any photos, but
right.
Now we do get to see them. And what we see is, in the case of the Seagers with their matching PJs, and in the case of Josh and his wife, that they're just regular, good old American families, Jeff.
Yeah, it's their dads do pretty cool jobs.
They do.
And make pretty good salaries, but they're people, Now Claire is out there on social media.
Yeah, always out there.
And they're not afraid to show off their daughter face and all. And also I saw a post as they were headed to Louisiana, where they're both from. Apparently Josh was hungover for the flight. Yeah, so I don't know if I'd want that tweeted out or shared on TikTok or wherever I saw it. Yeah. Let's keep the hangovers out of it, huh?
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yep. And Major League Baseball players have, of course, celebrated the holidays, again, like normal human beings, for forever and ever. Let's go back to the days in St. Louis when Joe Garagiola and Yogi Berra, who grew up across the street from each other, seen here selling Christmas trees in their neighborhood. They were raising funds to benefit the St. Dominic's Orphan Home. And look at that. They got a sign and everything out there about the Garagiola and Yogi Berra Christmas trees, Jeff. I drove by just a regular store this year, and we did real Christmas trees forever. And recently, I was late to the game on the kind that are pre-lit, which are the greatest things in the history of the world. They're better than sliced bread.
Yes.
I'm telling you that right now. Better than I'll slice bread. I don't ever want to string lights again. But we did the real trees forever, and they weren't this much. I drove by one at a grocery store in town. $600.
What?
For a real tree. It wasn't like this. I mean, it's not the one they're putting in front of Rockefeller Center. It was a tree for your house. Real tree.
600.
Yeah. $600.
Man,
I don't know.
yeah. I mean, I remember if we didn't cut down the tree at my mom's, the family ranch in Conifer, which is just west of Denver, we would go to a tree lot. I mean, they were everywhere. Yeah. And we'd buy our tree and drill holes into the, so you could get the water in there and sap and all that stuff. And I was like, oh shoot, the tree's dry. We better water it. Okay, well let's water it. And, but 600. Come on.
I couldn't believe it. Anyway, that's going to do it. We hope you all had a Merry Christmas. We're gone for the weekend as usual, but back next week again. We'll be in studio together and having fun talking baseball with you. There could be more happening, and we also still expect to hear from one or more of the newest Rangers. They're going to hopefully join us on the show next week. We'll get after that. Thanks for hanging out with us. Merry Christmas and have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday on another edition of the DLLS Rangers podcast.